Hey everyone, my name is Derek Henry, and in this week's video blog, we're going to talk about the power of mentoring. Now, this is going to go through mentoring mostly from the aspect of businesses, but it also is really relevant when you talk about just personal mentors, from a life perspective, kind of like a life coach. Chances are that you've been a part of a mentor program, either as a mentor, a mentee, maybe a little bit of both through one of the different places you've worked for. But if you're like me, you probably worked at places that had a robust mentoring process and some that didn't have anything. Guess which ones tend to be more successful, right? This is one of those things that's so incredibly beneficial, it's efficient, it's effective, and yet people don't really give it a whole lot of thought. So we'll talk about different types of mentors, talk about the best practices. We'll talk about why it's helpful to have a mentoring program, and even a template agenda of what you should talk about when you do these frequent recurring meetings that you have with your mentor. So first of all, let's talk about different types of mentors. Most people just think of that as somebody who's been in the trenches before that shows them the ropes, but there's actually several types. So first off, the sage. This is a universal person, a sounding board that you can talk about life things with, or really anything. It tends to be a family member or a family friend. It doesn't have to be. A lot of times you see this as somebody who's in between generations. Like an example, one of the best mentors I had growing up was somewhere between my age and my dad's. It's things I didn't really feel comfortable talking about my dad to, so he was a sounding board for all kinds of life things, girls, and what I wanted to do with my life and hobbies and just anything. It was great. Once we were old enough, we could have a beer together, so that was cool. A surgeon is an expert at what you are doing or what you want to be doing in your field. So there's somebody who is either the best or very close to it, that can show you the ropes, show you how they went about learning, maybe from some failures and trial and error, or what really worked well for them. Sponsor is somebody who can advocate for you. So whether that's somebody who's in a higher level position, who wants to help you get the resources you need for a project to work on, or just, sponsor and magnify your ideas, that can be really, really helpful and expedite your career path. Sidekick is somebody who's a peer. So that could be somebody in the exact same scenario or really similar. It could be at the same company or a different one. And it's really helpful to have somebody to just share trials and tribulations with and what you're going through. That kind of thing can help be valuable to share and bounce ideas off of. And then lastly, the student. You can tell these are all starting with S, so it's easy to remember. The mentee can also be a valuable type of a mentor. They can provide you some great feedback on how you're doing as a mentor or whatever it is that you're doing and teaching them. The best way to understand whether you really truly know something is to teach it. So students can provide valuable feedback and be a great source of reciprocating the mentorship relationship. Now, why is this beneficial? Well, from the onboarding perspective, that's the most common scenario people are familiar with. It really helps expedite it. If you were just give somebody a manual, say, here, good luck, figure it out, that's not really engaging. It's not reciprocating. It's not synchronous. You can't really ask questions that easily. A mentor can really cut through the noise and help people understand what's important, show them by example, let the mentee shadow a little bit. Really helps with stuff like that. It helps pass on travel knowledge. How many times did somebody leave and it's a big mess because not everybody knows what's really going on? I can think of dozens, maybe hundreds of examples when somebody left and it just wasn't all documented. This is one of those ways that supplements the documentation that you do have, and it's a great way to pass on best practices. You're also going to build strong relationships, not just between mentor and mentee, but a lot of other people. Having a mentor that can provide a warm introduction in whatever way possible, other people in the workplace, people you might want to know that can help you get your job done. At the end of the day, we get more done when we work together, and having a mentor facilitate relationships can be incredibly valuable. It strengthens accountability. So this is one of the things I'm very passionate about, making sure that there's a good culture of accountability where people understand what they need to get done and how that affects other people and aligning to core values. Mentorship just strengthens that because you have a natural accountability partner that's going to kind of challenge you if they're doing it right. They're not just back there to tell you what to do. They're teaching how to fish. They're challenging you. They're giving you feedback along the way. So it does, this last point here, supports feedback and growth. Another great way to have mentoring because they can kind of see how you're progressing and help you adjust and pivot if you need to. So just 5 of the many benefits of having a robust mentorship program. Now, some best practices here. You want to establish a framework. So having something that has clear expectations, something that gives insights to people who are going to be doing the mentoring on both sides of it. That's really, really helpful. Having kind of a guide that you can start from so that everybody understands what their part of the relationship is, that's really helpful. Set clear expectations. So how often are we going to meet? What is the purpose of this? Why are we even doing this? Why have we been selected to have this relationship? Have mutual commitment, right? That's important. If somebody's just not into it, if they're not showing up, then it doesn't really work. So having mutual commitment from both parties, asking a lot of questions, that tends to work really well. Ensure it's a two-way street. So this should not just be one directional. It shouldn't just be one person asking a lot of questions. It really should kind of work both ways. And that's what I've found to be successful. If you can bounce ideas both ways, you both learn, you both move on, and it works. Sticking to an agenda. It's real easy to get on a 30 or 60-minute call and you just kind of shoot the breeze for a half hour to an hour, and look, you really didn't get much done. So having a clear agenda of the things you got to cover, make sure to take care of business, leave a little bit of time for other stuff as well. That tends to work. Write things down. Now this is important. Really important to have somebody take notes during any kind of meeting, just so you can keep track of what's going on, what was decided, what is there left to do. But it's even more important with mentoring because it gives you something that can help with performance reviews. It really can document the progress that you're making. So make sure to write it down. Teach your mentee to fish. If you're doing everything for them, if you're just telling them the answer, that's doing them a disservice. You want to teach them how to think. You want to teach them how to leverage their experiences and what sense to make of all of that. So that's a really important thing that you can do, is help them develop their own mindsets and systems, even if they're not the same as your own. Measure progress. That kind of goes without saying, right? Just like write it down in your agenda and expectations. You want to make sure that you're hitting the milestones that you've set, marking things off the checklist. Like let's say there's a long onboarding checklist you have to go through. Make sure that you are progressing and they can give you feedback on that. Leverage the different mentor types from above. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have many mentors in your life or at your place of business of different types. If everybody's just a surgeon, that's going to be very narrow-minded. You might not have all the different perspectives that you might benefit from. And then, of course, pay it forward. For every person that has been a mentor to you, see if you can't pass along the same thing to a mentee. The paying it forward is the best way that we can ensure future generations are going to be successful, and we're leaving things in a better place than we found them. And then last section here is on a potential agenda. It's always good to have an agenda so people understand what's coming and everything. These are just some potential topics you might want to include. Review your previous action items. Think of this as like the recap at the beginning of a TV show. I always appreciate the recap because life is busy and sometimes you completely forget what's going on. Good to spend a couple of minutes just to recap what's been happening and what was accomplished before, and the goal progress kind of piggybacks on top of that. Check off all the completed tasks if that's relevant and there's things that you should be going through, and focus on what's left to do. Once you check those off, that's done. Let's focus on what's left. Make sure to spend some time on challenges that we encounter. That's how we learn and grow, is by overcoming obstacles and challenges. So make sure that you spend some time on that, get some feedback, and what do we learn from it. But don't forget to celebrate the successes. That's a psychological motivator, is when we see, say you're staring at a big staircase, you're at the bottom, it's draining, it's daunting. When you're halfway up or towards the top, you look back, you're like, look how far that we've come. That is a psychological thing that builds momentum, positive momentum. Have some open Q&A time, whether that's just anything at all or whatever is within the limits of what's okay to talk about. That's helpful too, because sometimes some of the best creativity and brainstorming happens during unstructured time. Just don't let that override the whole thing if you've got business to do. And of course, set goals for the next meeting. You want to make sure that you know what to expect for the next time, and go ahead and confirm the next meeting date and time. And that's a great tip, because so many times people get almost to the time like, oh, I got something else to do, I got double booked, and they're kind of in reactive mode. Sometimes you miss a meeting altogether. If you can be proactive and reschedule that, it's just a form of respect for everybody. A lot of these things you can take away across other things. The meeting agenda, well, that works for a lot of different meetings. But at the end of the day, make sure that you have a really robust mentor program. Provide feedback all along the way to your mentor, to your mentee, to the person managing that program if that exists. Make it enough of a formality and set expectations, and you will be off to a lot of success. And people will appreciate that you've set them up for success. So hopefully you found that helpful. If so, then like, share with a friend, give us some feedback. Appreciate you watching this. Thanks a lot and have a great rest of your day.